Hey everyone, this is Nikachu, Merfolk Master. I'm here with my brother, and I just heard that there's going to be some amazing changes to the banning and restricted announcement. Look, we've got a picture of Stoneforge Mystic. We got Ian Duke here. Wow, Rampaging Ferocodon is unbanned at this point. Like, I don't understand. Whatever. Okay, Hogaak is banned, but Faithless Looting is banned.
Wow.
They're banning Faithless Looting.
Fucking happened.
Unbelievable. Is this Christmas?
Every red deck right now.
Is this Christmas? And Stoneforge Mystic is unbanned. Stoneforge Mystic is unbanned, which, like, yeah, I can totally see it. We all knew it was going to be unbanned. We didn't know when it was going to get unbanned, but of course it had to get unbanned at some point. Look at it, Vintage got just shaken up big time. Karn the Great Creator is restricted, because that's a BS card. And make no mistake, Karn the Great Creator could end up getting banned in Legacy, and therefore banned in Modern. This is, over time, a card that could get better and better and better as the toolbox that you can get from the sideboard gets stronger. Make no mistake, cards in Vintage, why wasn't Mental Misstep restricted even earlier? Like as you see, Golgari Grave Troll is restricted. They're going hard today. They went hard. They went super hard on the bannings and the unbannings, I guess. Rampaging Ferocodon probably could have gotten unbanned a long time ago. Menace players can't. It was banned like a million years ago when like red was only the big deck on the block, but like there's way more than just red decks right now. But make no mistakes, cards like Karn the Great Creator could end up getting banned in Legacy and Modern as it just gets stronger and stronger. And I guess it's just against the spirit of Legacy. Can't play with your Moxes if the Karn is out. But okay, Hogaak, we all knew Hogaak was gonna go. This card was ridiculous R&D. You did a lot of D, but not enough of R on the Hogaak part. Clearly wasn't play tested properly, and it could go into a million different shells, which ended up being completely busted. So Hogaak, we obviously knew was banned. Faithless Looting, a card that we knew was a problem, like was a serious problem. Oh, it's not fair. I guess as they look, well, we're gonna see the explanation. Does Ian have an explanation? And Stoneforge Mystic probably could have got unbanned way earlier, especially as hostile as Modern has gotten. Stoneforge Mystic is fine. Umezawa's Jite is not unbanned. Batterskull is meaningless in the Modern metagame, and might actually give some life to like an Abzan sort of deck. So we won't just see Jund out there. We won't see Black Green Rock. Abzan now has a clear sign to play Stoneforge Mystic. And yeah, I think it's fine. And although a lot of people say, oh, Blue White Control can't play Stoneforge Mystic, they can. It has been done. I believe. So is there an explanation? So standard, we periodically review the banned and restricted list for cards we can remove that will positively impact a format. Rampaging Ferocodon was banned during Ixalan Year Standard in order to weaken aggressive red decks and provide more counterplay by blocking with creatures and gaining life. Since that time, aggressive red decks have become weaker in the metagame, and stronger and more varied strategies have emerged. Two popular new standard decks enabled by Core Set 2020's release are Scapeshift and Orzhov Vampires. Both those decks seek to win by putting lots of small creatures onto the battlefield. And the Orzhov Vampires deck has many ways to gain life. Rampaging Ferocodon should give red aggressive strategies and other decks like Jund Dinosaurs an additional option to fight Scapeshift and Orzhov Vampires. While we're generally happy with the health of the standard metagame right now, we believe Rampaging Ferocodon will further improve the metagame's general balance and ability to self-correct for the remaining Core Set 2020 standard season until a rotation with the release of Throne of Eldraine. Yeah, so Rampaging Ferocodon, you get to enjoy like a few days left in standard, because Throne of Eldraine's coming in like a month and a half. Note that Rampaging Ferocodon will be unbanned in traditional Best of 3 Standard on MTG Arena as of September 4th, but will remain banned in Best of 1 play. This is due to differences in the metagames between those play modes, with aggressive red strategies already performing well in Best of 1. Oh! Hogaak, you're gone! You're gone! You got too greedy, king of nonsense. Alright, Modern. This has got to be interesting. Since the release of Modern Horizons, graveyard decks using Hogaak have had an enormous impact on the modern metagame. Well, no shit. After early signs of the metagame being unable to self-correct, such as players adopting large amounts of main deck grave hate and all the graveyard hate, we threw Leyline of the Voids, we threw Grafdigger's Cage, Rest in Pieces did not mean anything. Large amounts of main deck graveyard hate, and the Hogaak deck still boasting high win rates. We restricted Bridge from Below to weaken the deck. Since then, the results of the Mythic Championship in Barcelona, several Grand Prix, and other tournaments have shown that Hogaak continues to have a high win rate and oppressive effect on the metagame. In looking at the evolution of the archetype over time and the variety of successful ways to build the deck, it's clear that the card Hogaak is the crux of the problem. Therefore, Hogaak is banned. Hogaak, Arisen Necropolis, you are gone! Coming out of this period of an unhealthy modern metagame, look, they acknowledge it's unhealthy, people. It's unhealthy. People aren't having fun. People are dropping out of FNM. They see the numbers. You can complain all you want about modern being a stable format where that banning's not the right answer, but people are running away. We want to avoid taking half a step that once again leaves the metagame in a place where it can't self-correct. Over the past year, graveyard-based strategies have been occupying a large portion of the modern metagame, to the point where deck-building diversity is being suppressed. This is reflected in the rise of heavy-handed main deck anti-graveyard hate cards like Surgical Extraction, Leyline of the Void, Rest in Peace. We'd like to shift gameplay a little bit away from the graveyard and back towards the hand and the battlefield. The key card enabling the majority of these graveyard-focused decks is Faithless Looting. By our data gathered from Magic Online and tabletop tournament results over the past year, the winningest modern deck, I didn't know winningest was a word. I'm going to start using that word from now on. The winningest modern deck at any given point in time has usually been a Faithless Looting deck. Examples include Hollow One, Is It Phoenix, Dredge, Bridgevine variants, both pre and post Hogaak release. So as new card designs are released that deal with the graveyard, discarding cards and casting cheap spells, the power of Faithless Looting's efficient hand and graveyard manipulation continues to scale upward. Regardless of Hogaak's recent impact, Faithless Looting would be a likely eventual addition to the banned list in the near future. In order to ensure the metagame doesn't again revert to a Faithless Looting graveyard deck being dominant, we believe now is the correct time to make this change. For the same reason, we're choosing not to unban Bridge from Below at this time. You see, they know what's coming in the future. They can see 2 years ahead. They're going to make the graveyard full of more resources and make it more to allow Standard to have more grind. If you lose cards from your hand, it's okay. You can start using your graveyard as a resource, and it's just going to get out of control in Modern. Make no mistake, the graveyard will be back. Knowing that these changes will already shake up the metagame, we consider this a good time to review cards currently on the banned list, just as was our philosophy in unbanning Jace the Mind Sculptor and Bloodbraid Elf last year. We recognize that over time, the power level of Modern increases naturally as the card pool grows. Cards that were added to the ban list on pure power level may now be more appropriate in context of a more powerful metagame. We believe the Modern metagame and power level are in a place where Stoneforge Mystic is now an appropriate inclusion in the card pool. Congratulations to everyone who've been waiting for Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic is now part of Modern. You can feel like, oh, it's like Legacy all over again. We've got Stoneforge Mystic, we have Bloodbraid Elf, we have Jace the Mind Sculptor. We have cards that definitely, Stoneforge Mystic was definitely getting unbanned. We didn't know when it was going to get unbanned. We just knew that eventually it was going to be a thing, and now Stoneforge Mystic is a reality. The danger of in reintroducing Stoneforge Mystic, and the reason it's remained on the banned list up until this point, is that it's at its strongest against straightforward decks that play to the battlefield. While we think it's unlikely, there is a scenario where Stoneforge Mystic could come to suppress this general type of gameplay, in which case we would re-examine its legality, similar to Golgari Grave Troll's history in Modern. Remember, Golgari Grave Troll was unbanned, made a huge impact on Modern as they started printing some really good dredge cards. They unbanned Golgari Grave Troll in a close proximity to Prized Amalgam, and Prized Amalgam just made the Dredge deck incredibly good. It was the one missing piece of the puzzle that made it explosive. And then after that, they had to ban Golgari Grave Troll and Golgari Grave Troll. So they're willing to unban the card, see what happens. And you know what? If it's going to be a BS card in Modern, they're going to reban it. But I don't think that's going to happen with Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic, I think, is a very fair card in Legacy, and I think it's going to be a fine card in Modern. Batterskull is meaningless in this format. Not to mention that I don't think Sword of Fire and Ice is going to be all that much more dangerous either. So instead, in that case, we could re-examine its legality similar to Golgari Grave Troll's history in Modern. Instead, our hope is that as gameplay becomes less graveyard-focused, Stoneforge Mystic serves as an enticing draw for decks to refocus towards the battlefield, creature combat, and card advantage. Look, they're trying to go back to card advantage. They're trying to go back to the classic version of card advantage. Hopefully it goes that way, because the level of power in Modern is ridiculous. It's a lot less about... They acknowledge that the card advantage is on the downtick. It's not the focus of Modern. Who cares about having extra cards and grinding people out? They're focusing. It's the focus of Modern right now is on just raw power. So here's a big disgusting picture of Karn the Great Creator. I hate you.
Is the person who designed Hogaak, is he getting fired?
There's probably a team of people. And I'll tell you what they should have done. They got to get Paul Cheon back on the play design team. He was on the play design team. Things were going great in Magic, both in Standard and Modern. He moves to manager of coverage, and then all hell breaks loose. You got to get Paul Cheon back to play design. He should never have left. Paul Cheon was doing great things in play design. So in Vintage, which is being played by 20 people in the earth, War of the Spark, Modern Horizons, and Core Set 2020 have been amongst the most impactful sets for Vintage in years. We've been watching and listening to the evolution of Vintage over the last several months as the metagame has begun to settle. Now that the London Mulligan is official and we've had some time to review data and tournament results, we'd like to take action to resolve some problematic play patterns. Though our data shows that Vintage is in a good state of balance from an objective standpoint, with nearly all the top 10 decks having, 47 to 53% overall win rates, we've heard community concerns about an increase in turn 1, turn 2 effective wins and less interactive gameplay. Of course, if you get turn 1 Karn, GG, good luck, no Moxes or Black Lotuses for you. We agree and would like to move the format back to a place the community is happy with, even taking multiple steps over time if needed. Recently, Karn the Great Creator and Mystic Forge. Let's take a look at Mystic Forge. We're going to see Mystic Forge. There we are. I mean, look, I can't believe this is a powerhouse in Legacy. I guess so, if all the cards are cost nothing. Have turbocharged shop decks by giving them more early game lockout potential, though Karn's static ability. A tutorable win condition through Karn's -2 loyalty ability to fetch Time Vault. Oh, Time Vault and Voltaic Key or Manifold. Wow, yeah. Karn is ridiculous in Vintage. Get Time Vault? That's hilarious. And card advantage in prolonged games, especially through Mystic Forge related to Karn's static ability. Vintage is one format in Magic where players can enjoy playing with super powerful artifact mana like the Moxen, Sol Ring, and Black Lotus. Sure, yes. This is a reason why Chalice of the Void is restricted in Vintage, so that you can enjoy playing with ridiculous cards. We'd like to reintroduce the number of games that immediately come down to an early Karn preventing the opponent from casting spells. Therefore, in order to make shop decks more interactive in the early game and more attackable in the prolonged game, we are restricting Karn the Great Creator and Mystic Forge. We considered the further step of restricting Sphere of Resistance, but prefer to take the smaller step first and reevaluate based on data and community feedback. Dredge decks based around Bazaar of Baghdad have become more powerful with the London Mulligan, and to some extent, and to some recent card additions such as Force of Vigor as a means of fighting opposing graveyard hate. In order to slow these decks down and provide a more time for interaction, we are restricting Golgari Grave Troll. This card is an abomination. It's just a ridiculous card. And the thing is, the text on all this doesn't even matter. It's just the Dredge 6. Under very rare circumstances do people want to pay 5 and actually cast this thing. Though it's not a bad creature if you can do that, honestly. Mental Misstep has been a controversial card amongst the Vintage community for years. While it does provide more opportunity for interaction, it is also the strongest against the most interactive decks. Moreover, a large portion of the reason for including Mental Misstep is to fight an opponent's mental missteps. This creates a situation where many decks are taxed deck slots they must devote to fighting each other at the expense of weakening themselves against shops. In addition, dredge decks often use Mental Misstep to protect their graveyard engine or disrupt opponents. We believe that restricting Mental Misstep will open up more deck building diversity, strengthen interactive decks, matchups against shops, and weaken dredge. I mean, overall what they're doing is, okay, we're going to slow down the nonsense. We're slowing down the nonsense. Screw the Golgari Grave Troll. Don't be as scared about Bazaar of Baghdad dredge decks.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, it is bizarre. And we're going to get rid of Mental Misstep. So let's slow it all down, just like they're slowing Modern down. Since our philosophy is that Vintage should be about playing with access to all of Magic, we periodically re-examine the restricted list for cards that can create new decks and play patterns, even if they come with some risk. Recently, many players have suggested Fast Bond as a card they would enjoy building with 4 copies of, since most Vintage decks really rely heavily on artifact mana and play fewer lands. Chances are that a deck built around Fast Bond would look quite different from anything in the current metagame. Other cards we've discussed unrestricted in the future are Windfall and Necropotence. Are you serious? No, you keep those things where they are. Very interested in what the Vintage community thinks of these changes and whether further steps are needed. There will be one more opportunity to change the BNR list before Eternal Weekend North America, and we are willing to do so. So please continue to make yourselves heard in the same ways you have been. That's hilarious. I can't imagine. Well, I don't know. The Vintage community can do whatever the hell they want. I don't play this format. It's just the most insane format.
$12,000.
I mean, it's like Modern right now times 20, or what Modern was before the banning and restricted announcement. And it's also very interesting how much care Wizards puts into paying attention to the Vintage metagame. I wish they put as much care into Modern and would swiftly do what is necessary to be done. Like Stoneforge Mystic could have been unbanned a long time ago. Wow, what a day this is. Hogaak is banned, but Faithless Looting is also banned. That's going to be a big shift. I assumed that Dredge was going to fill the hole that Hogaak left and that nothing would be changed. But Faithless Looting is going to completely chop the legs off of not only
Phoenix.
Dredge, the Phoenix decks. That includes Mono Red and Izzet Phoenix. That's actually going to bring the necessity of Chalice of the Void down by a lot. In fact, I probably am going to start cutting Chalice of the Void from the sideboard because I'm going to be less focused on beating these decks. But I do believe that those decks can evolve. They can be less focused on They can be less focused on the Flamewake Phoenix, sorry, not Flame, Arclight Phoenix interaction, more focused on Aria of Flame. So it can become now a Thing in the Ice Aria of Flame deck. So there is adaptation there. I don't know about the Mono Red deck. They might just go back to Burn or something like that. Losing Faithless Looting is a huge hurt in that deck. Makes it harder for them to enable Bedlam Reveler. Less prowess triggers all around. Anyway, face a Stoneforge Mystic. Where are you going to play your Stoneforge Mystics? I'd love to know. A lot of people wanted to see Stoneforge Mystic unbanned. How many decks want to see this card? What is your archetype that you're going to now play Stoneforge Mystic? Are you going to splash white for Stoneforge Mystic? I thought I might do it in Merfolk, but I think at this point I'm not. I think Merfolk is fine as it is. I don't need Stoneforge Mystic. And it's going to be curious, how am I going to change Modern Merfolk as well for myself? Am I going to stay with Simic? Am I going to go back to Mono Blue? Because there's a less necessity to beat degenerate decks. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to reevaluate. I'm going to have to see how the metagame shakes out. This is a big shakeup, and hopefully for the better, that we can move away from these really degenerate, super powerful decks, and we can move towards
actual Magic.
Yeah, actual Magic. Let's play on the battlefield, people. Let's put creatures in play and turn them sideways. Anyway, this has been my evaluation and reaction to the banning and restricted announcement of August 26, 2019.
It's amazing that the ban Faithless.